welcome to my channel. This is the Honest Teacher, Trish, and today I want to talk about something called gaslighting. So it's a pretty popular phrase these days, but let me tell you what my definition of gaslighting is. All right, so my definition of gaslighting is when somebody suppresses or distorts the truth for their own benefit in order to make somebody else question their own reality. Now, this is something that happens to teachers all the time, and eventually it gets so tiresome they just want to quit. So this is the Why Teachers Quit series. So here's a couple of things I want to talk about regarding this subject. In general, teachers are constantly made to feel like they are the problem. In general, it's very clear, at least here in America where I'm from, there is a massive problem in education. But here's the problem. Everybody wants to know who to blame. Administrators will not take the blame. Politicians will not take the blame. Students will not take the blame. The parents have said students will not take the blame. So there's one really easy group of people that's left to blame, and you guessed it, that would be teachers. So here's the tough part. A lot of times gaslighting happens from trusted or sometimes not so trusted supervisors. So for teachers, that could be instructional coaches, vice principals, principals, all of the different people involved in the working of a school environment. So a lot of times it catches us by surprise because I think inherently us teachers think, you know what, everybody understands how hard it is to be a teacher. Everybody sort of gets it. And many, many times the people that are in administration were once teachers. So we just think to ourselves, of course, they're going to be understanding, they're going to be supportive. But so often we are not met with compassion or support or understanding when we come to them with challenges or issues or just even sometimes venting our feelings. When teachers normally, from my experience, say anything in any kind of meeting that doesn't seem really happy and peppy and cheery and wonderful, they are branded as troublemakers or bitter or cynical or unexperienced. And sometimes, sadly enough, this can even happen from teacher to teacher. So I just have a super quick story where this just happened to me a few days ago. We were having a professional development day, and for those of you that don't know, that would be a day where there's no students around. We're just going through meetings throughout the day, and we had a little bit of a shocking time to work and just to get things done. So our instructional coach popped into the room and kind of sat with us to hang out, and she seems like really nice, really cool, and we were just chatting, and I casually asked her, how she got to be an instructional coach. And she basically told me she was at a point where she was tired and burnt out with teaching, and then just several things happened that basically handed her the job. So we're just talking, hanging out, and she asked us about one of our sessions, and it was basically in a nutshell about how many teachers are dealing with essentially something called vicarious trauma. That's where working with populations that have a lot of trauma ends up affecting the teacher and can lead to depression and all kinds of really serious mental health problems. And don't get me wrong, I was super happy that teacher mental health and well-being was being addressed, but the entire focus of the whole session was basically saying that teachers are feeling, stressed and burned out and depressed as a result of dealing with students that, have traumatic situations. And I definitely think that that can be true. I've worked in several Title I schools with really, really challenging and hurting groups of kids. So I definitely think that can be true. But what myself and all the teachers around me, whenever they had the little time where you break out and talk to a neighbor, all of us literally said, you know what, I don't actually think it's dealing with, the kids that have trauma that's stressing us out so much. It's all of these new district mandates and the lack of resources and the lack of support and the ever growing mountain of paperwork. And we just kind of all to ourselves went on and on about, you know what, I don't think it's just working with the kids that's stressing us out. It's really the system that's stressing us out. So because I thought we had been having an honest conversation, the instructional coach and myself, I just kind of casually said, it was a good seminar. It was really interesting. But at the end of the day, they suggested things like teachers do yoga, practice gratitude, look for the positive. That was basically their solution to the problem. So I just kind of said, I didn't think that the solutions were necessarily the most helpful ones, for one. And basically, I think that teachers are feeling a lot of stress as a result of the overall system. And just like that, it was like she switched kind of from the understanding, I'm in the trenches with you, to basically saying, no, it's not that the system is broken. It's not because of administrative demands. It's not because of the workload. It's not because of the constant changes. It really is, working with this population of kids that have trauma that has teachers feeling stressed out. And she even went on to say, a lot of times when teachers are dealing with this vicarious or secondhand trauma, really, really little things seem super overwhelming, like all the new changes that our district is having. And then she continued to go on and kind of talk about, oh, all these teachers are saying things are so hard, but they're not really hard at all. It's just because of this vicarious trauma from working with the kids that teachers are really believing that all of these standards and expectations and new mandates are hard. And I kind of was just incredulous, like, really? Are you serious? You literally just told me that you got out of teaching because you were stressed and burnt out. But just like that, in a snap of a fingers, she is an instructional coach, so she sort of represents the system. She represents the man, so to speak. So she just like that switched to defending the system. Nothing's wrong with the system. The emperor's new clothes again. Nothing's wrong with all these new mandates and all this nonsense. It's basically you guys and your inability to cope, and because of what you're feeling as a result of something that has nothing to do with us, by the way, you're perceiving all of these things to be so hard and so dramatic and sort of whining and complaining about it. That was essentially the vibe that I got from her. So I just shut my mouth, and actually for a second I had to stop and think about it, like, oh, maybe it's not the system. Maybe it's not all the paperwork. Maybe it's not all the new mandates in January that were being given. And then I thought to myself, no, we all know the truth. All of us teachers just sat there and talked about it. This is just kind of one of the many, many examples of teacher gaslighting, where we're made to feel like because we're weak or fragile or because of some circumstance outside of ourselves, we're perceiving the teaching profession to be broken. We're perceiving the district mandates to be hard. We're perceiving the workload to be unmanageable, when really it's so easy, it's so great, it's so wonderful. We just really need to get it together. We need to, quote unquote, do more yoga. We need to practice more gratitude. At the end of the day, it keeps putting more mounting pressures on teachers to figure out how to manage all of this craziness, instead of changing the system from the ground up to really support teachers, to really help them, to really make this profession something sustainable. And at the end of the day, after just continually hearing these messages, teachers get tired and they get burnt out. And a lot of them believe that it is them. They think, oh, well, maybe I am a bad teacher, or maybe I'm weak, or maybe I don't know what I'm doing. So my sort of call to action for any teachers watching this, any instructional coaches, administrators, principals, is, you know what, start by being honest. Start by acknowledging what teachers are going through. Own up to your mistakes. If you come up with some kind of new program and it flops horribly, don't blame it on the teachers. Don't say that it's because we're doing such a bad job. If something's hard, but you feel like it's necessary, acknowledge that it's hard. That's just a common empathetic starting ground. Don't make us feel crazy. Don't make us feel like it's all our faults. Just be honest. And I think that's a good, healthy starting place. And I think for teachers, the call to action would be to speak the truth in love, in kindness. And when you are stressed out, or when something does feel hard or overwhelming or frustrating, speak it kindly. Say, you know what, well, that might be true. Maybe other teachers aren't finding this stressful, but I really am. I'm really struggling with this right now. And I think that that's a good starting place. And if enough teachers speak the truth, and enough administrators and people in power start agreeing with the truth, I think it's possible to begin to have change. But as long as there's this weird toxic environment where teachers can never say when something's hard or stressful, then things keep on going the same way. They keep getting worse and worse every year for teachers. And then teachers feel powerless and they don't feel like they have a voice. And then that's why you're finding half of all teachers quitting within the first 5 years. That's why you're finding some cities in America that have a national, a crisis, a shortage of teachers. They won't do it anymore. There comes a breaking point for everybody, and anything in life is harder when nobody will agree or acknowledge or support something. Everything is harder in life that way. So it's a little bit of a rant, but it kind of made me think. So anyway, hopefully you appreciated something that you learned today. If you have experienced gaslighting as a teacher or in some other kind of working profession, or if you totally disagree and think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. All right, have a great day. Bye.